time I didn't have a puddle up there.
It was kind of interesting. Hi.
Hello, we're dark. It looks like we're in an eclipse.
Should we turn the other lights on?
we look shadowy. Maybe it's. You can tell you've been outside though, right much.
Yes.
Gotten some little bronze going on.
Going on.
Mm-hmm. But this week is nice here, so. And today is a Wednesday. It's not raining here. It's cloudy. It looks like it
A little
was
cloudy, a little dark
but
in here.
It's nice.
It's nice.
The weather has warmed up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So.
What's new with you?
I don't know. I don't know if I can settle down enough to figure out what's new. I just keep rolling. You just keep going. You know, you get one of them. It's like, okay.
Oh, yeah, yesterday was just one of those days. I mean, one thing after another culminated.
Mm-hmm. I got a few days like that. Today's gonna be one of those days for me.
Really?
So got a lot of things going on, but anyway, it's good.
Yeah, maybe in 10 years from now I can rest.
Yeah, and but the thing is, like I said, you don't get to rest when you die either, because when you go to heaven, there's work to do. You get jobs up in heaven.
Okay, I have no
So
problem.
I was hoping.
What really job are you gonna get?
Well, I guess it depends on. I don't know. I don't know who's hired.
As long as it doesn't give me any more gray hair.
It's something with food that I can cook.
Oh, that would be fun.
I would enjoy doing.
I like to cook.
And you're a good cook.
Yeah, the other day
Maybe you can hunt the food for them.
Ooh. Do we get to eat too?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, but you'll be the hunter and gatherer.
Mm-hmm.
And enjoy yourself a little bit.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Too many things.
Instead of being in charge.
Too many things on the plate.
Mm-hmm. Just be able to just go out.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So that would be interesting. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, last week, I guess it was, towards the end of the week or the weekend or whatever, New York had an earthquake.
4.8.
Which is a lot for them, I think.
For them, it's a lot. And then, where was the other one?
I guess every place is able to have an earthquake because it's their fault.
Yes.
But it's not places that you typically.
And some are deeper than others.
Mm-hmm. So I think it kind of rattled some of the New Yorkers.
I actually printed off the two that had the earthquakes.
I know when in Taiwan?
Taiwan, yes. That was a 7 point something.
They had a major one.
That was a major one.
Mm-hmm.
And that is close to the, ring of fire. Now, I have no idea what caused the earthquake in New York. But, I mean, on a grand scale, it's going to happen sometime.
Yeah, I know. But the thing with me in New York is you've got all the underground subways. And then you've got all the high-rise buildings. So it's a little bit different.
Well, if they're newer buildings, they've been constructed this way.
Supposedly, but some of the old buildings stand up better than
I know when we went to the Albany, and I'm swaying because when we went to the towers in Albany, I was way up. We were up, and I said, "Oh, this is moving." And my husband said, "Yeah, it's meant to sway a little bit." I'm like, "I'm not staying here. Not a place I want."
Well, I mean, you think about how much the one that everybody goes to and kisses in New York, Empire State.
Yeah, that's
very high up, and in the wind and everything. So you think, I mean, when you're up there, it's very windy. Yeah, and you're looking down, and it looks like little toy cars.
I don't like being up that high.
And so as long as it's been there and stuff, I mean, it's the older buildings sometimes may be built a little bit better.
We've talked about bridges that go down because they're not constructed properly and put in the bedrock. And then now we have earthquakes that are happening in different areas.
And see, it's kind of like what we talked before. There's some areas that, you may build it this way because you're not anticipating an earthquake. I mean, can it happen? Yes. But I mean, the likelihood is decimal. And then all of a sudden it happens.
Well, you have an egg, and sometimes when I teach this class, you could drop an egg and it just has little cracks. So they're just little, but then you go, and then you got a big crack. So you have a lot of places that have little cracks, and you get that shifting. Where you get like the San Andreas Fault, that's a big, major crack. So when that shakes, well, New York, not New York, but California could just become an island.
I mean, it may. I mean, it could.
It could. It really could, because from space
That's a
you
big
can
crack.
see that. Like, and I was laughing about the global warming type thing. You know, you can't blame the eclipse and the earthquakes on global warming.
No.
That has been done.
I mean, the eclipse is an eclipse. I mean, it's going to happen.
It's a God type thing where He sets the universe to have that happen, just per happenstance. You know.
Global warming. It's the fault of everything.
I was just reading in the news here that they're blaming that in the European Union did global temperatures hit record high in March for 10th consecutive. Now we talked about um, the solar flares that are coming off and all the emissions from the sun, which actually has more to do with global warming than anything else because of all that radiation coming in. And they have really, believe me. And
That's a hypothesis. Okay.
well, it's from 2019 to next summer, I believe, 2020. It'll reach its peak and be gone. And all that electrons that are coming in, they got to go someplace. All that electricity, you're going to be charged up. Steam.
Well, the solar flares don't help anybody in the winter.
No, but we haven't had any snow. And we haven't had any ice,
No,
which
thank
I
goodness.
am really happy for
I'm
that.
very happy with it.
I'm
I'm
very
very happy.
So,
Now, if it would just warm up and stay around 70 year round here, it'd be okay. And then get up into the 90s in the summertime. And then
just to heat up the water in the pool.
I want to get, yeah, it needs to be, I have to have my water above 80. But yeah, global,
Yeah, so
I think global warming is the cause of taxes.
well,
Tax day's coming up here in a few days, so.
you sort of think about it. They'll charge you more because we have to put in more stuff to keep all that. I was going to say another word. All that stuff out of the atmosphere, all that soot and ash out of the atmosphere. So they want to take us out of the atmosphere, and they want to get rid of cows that have methane and all that stuff. But one volcano will take care of all that.
I don't want one of them either, though.
No, I don't want one of those.
And we don't have one in Virginia.
Just the old ones, covered over.
And hopefully they'll never erupt again.
I doubt it. No.
Well, hey, that's probably one of those 0.00925%
right?
zeros, and then all of a sudden one day something's gonna.
Well, yeah, because I was reading this, and I don't know where it went to now, but they were talking about global warming, and it's such a myth.
It really is. I mean, it's a big farce, and they get people so excited about it and everything,
And they in the European Union, and that's what I was trying to. Yeah, Climate Monitoring Agency says global temperatures reach a new high for the 10th consecutive month in March.
But that's another reason they're trying to put electric vehicles in, right?
Well, what are they?
Because I mean the atmosphere and stuff, right?
Yes, because they don't want to burn fossil fuels. And they want to get rid of cows so we can't eat beef. We all have to be vegetarians or vegans, vegans. So they're trying to do this. And there was one, I can't find the exact same one because I was looking at it, that it was in Switzerland and women 70 years old said it's too hot for them in the summertime. It's not good for them. So the climate change has to be controlled. I'm like, boy, it must be really bad for me.
In Switzerland.
In Switzerland, with the Alps, no less.
So how hot does it get there?
I obviously it gets pretty hot for them, and I can't find that one part where I had gone to that one section that was kind of, let's see if I, nope, went too far. So I thought it was kind of funny that, um, say these, okay, we're too warm. Ladies, it's called hot flashes.
Well, hopefully not in your seventies, right? Do you still get them in your seventies?
Sometimes. My mom got them most all of her life until she passed away at 71, so I'm gonna say yeah, maybe it did. And then they have another one here, but to ration water in Colombia because the reservoir levels fall. So, and then Zambia has the worst drought in 20 years. We thank goodness, where's the wood? Because we have not had drought. We've had a lot of water.
We have. That's what, people, it just depends on how it comes because then it might not rain again for a while. And then
That's right, in the
that will hurt
summertime, yeah.
it might hurt the farmers. So, you just have to be grateful when you do get it because we don't know what's coming.
You don't know, and you're hoping your well fills out, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's all over Europe. They're trying to limit greenhouse gases.
I'm not a climate change, I'm not a climate change person. I'm not a,
Over the years, it's changed all the time.
well, my husband, he remembers back when I probably wasn't paying attention because I was a little bit younger than him. But he remembers, when they were trying to preach all this stuff about, I guess it was Jimmy Carter, about how hot it was going to be by
4 degrees.
certain
They used to
lines.
say 4 degrees Celsius. If it
And
gets
it was
4
going to
degrees,
be this hot or this cold, and everything was going to be, and nothing has really changed that much.
they got a lot of snow in the Northeast.
But not as much as, this year's not been as bad for them.
They just got a big one, yeah. They just where we had that rain.
But they've not had a bad winter either, I don't think.
I don't know. I probably weren't, but I know they've had some storms up there. So
You expect them to, but I don't think they're. I don't think they've been as bad this year. I don't think, but I could be wrong.
I don't.
It's just nuts.
I know.
It used to be. I remember when you used to expect at least Florida to be warm, and now Florida gets freezing, and it hurts the orange crops and stuff. And it's like, what in the world?
Well, this one thing says the emissions are, not, they're bad, like the Industrial Revolution. It was really bad in the Industrial Revolution. There was nothing taking that stuff out.
No.
We have things that take a lot of soot and ash out of the atmosphere. We've been shower washed and aerated.
All right, so I do have a science question for you.
Oh, good.
It was posed to me
Can't say.
within the last week, and I have an argument in my head, but I can't put it into words.
All right.
Okay, so the argument is, the question is, and you can Google it for the answer, but don't Google it until you answer me.
I gotta answer you first.
Is water wet? I told them I was going to ask my science person.
Water is, well, they call it a liquid, but it's got a special compound. It's a special compound because it's H2O. So is water wet? It has like a tensile strength to it that keeps it together. You get it on your hand. How do you define wet? Ask a question with a question. How do you define wet?
How do you define wet? Is water wet?
Does it run? It's a liquid. I think it comes into the definition of wet. Like sweat. There it goes to the definition. What is wet?
Okay, that was one of the questions that I had. But so I've heard two theories now. And I said, well, I was going to ask my science person.
See, the molecules of water are together. And you can suspend stuff in between them. So it depends on what you say is wet. To me, it's liquid state, which means it runs, as opposed to being wet. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, because sugar, you can have sap that you feel might be wet or may not be wet, sticky, but it's a liquidy thing. It's molasses.
Well, supposedly there's one science teacher that went through all this stuff and proved that water is wet. But then when you look it up on Google, it says water is not wet. Okay, and this is part of the theory. So think about this. Water is not wet. Wet is based on what I've this theory. Water is not wet. Okay, wet is the byproduct of water hitting a solid surface.
And staying there.
Well, when sometimes it hits and runs off, but
Or
it's still,
runs off or leaves
but
residue.
if it's just
Yeah.
raining,
Yeah.
so it's sitting in a bottle. If you have a bottle of water, that water is not wet.
No, I'm not touching it. It's not on me. It's a
But-
liquid. There's the question. What's the difference between wet and liquid?
So
I have got to find out.
I think this is an interesting question.
I like that. Because that would be
Because-
something a high school teacher.
Well, and actually this was posed to me by my 9-year-old granddaughter.
Oh, really?
And so anyway, she and I had this discussion and I was coming up with all these arguments and she was like,
See, here it
and
says
she had some good arguments of her own.
covered or soaked with liquid.
Okay.
Okay. So, such as water. Water is a liquid. Not yet dry or firm. Stored or prepared with water or other liquids. So, it's a liquid.
But it doesn't, it's so
It has to be on something to make you think it's wet.
well, but my thing is, okay, so what was one of my arguments? Because if it's raining outside,
Okay.
unless it hits the ground or hits us, it's not wet.
Wait, because we're not getting it. It's like, is water wet? There you go. There's your. Oh, come on. Just give me the answer. Is water wet? It's not really straightforward. Is water wet? As if really it's not. Water is everywhere. It covers over 70% of the earth and our bodies and is essential component of life. We are breath.
Okay, I want to interject a question that was posed in the middle of this.
Okay.
Because it might come up in here, but I just want to see your thought. Aren't we 70% water?
Mm-hmm. So you're wet.
I'm all wet.
Well, but it's contained in a container called skin.
But isn't it hitting hard surfaces in my body?
It's enclosed in all your little cells and it's running around in your blood vessels and it's the interstitial waters.
Could be sitting in my ankles.
Yes, making you swell up. Water in a container. In the air, food we eat. But the answer is not as straightforward as these. There you go. You go back to who was first, the chicken or the egg?
Well, it's almost like, does a tree falling in the forest make noise?
It sends
If no
out
one's
waves.
there. If no one's there.
It sends out waves. If we won't hear it, but it might make noise to the animals, so we're going to run because it makes sound waves.
So is sound only present when we can hear it?
No, it's still there because it's waves. We only hear it because all the little hair follicles in our cochlea vibrate back and forth at a different vibration, and we interpret that and hear it as hearing and sound. So those waves are still out there, but you could pick it up almost like what you think, like an earthquake wave, and they pick it up. It's the same type of idea. The wave's still there, just we're not hearing it if we're not there.
But the sound is still present.
Yeah. And you can probably far away pick it up as an echo. The wavelengths are still there.
But, so I wonder how they measure that. Like if you put something out there in the wood.
Well, you can actually do that because you get the decibels.
But something has to measure it.
Yes, to measure it, exactly. Mm-hmm.
So,
Just like
but,
when you shoot a
so,
gun,
but,
you put these over your ears because the concussion from the sounds of the gun, it's like in your ears. So if you can have it more, the more you put in your ears, the better it'll be.
so water contained in a bottle,
Mm-hmm, it's liquid.
but not wet.
Well, see, that says what does it mean to be wet. We'll get to whether water is wet as a moment, but see, okay, everything we see around us is made of atoms. Those atoms arrange themselves in different ways. Sometimes they're close together. Remember, the atoms. Other times they're a bit more loose, like liquids. They can also be very loose, like gases. When we touch a wet surface, the water molecules adhere to our skin. The adhesion creates a thin layer of liquid that covers the surface. So the surface. Feel when we touch the wet surface. It's the sensation of the liquid layer that we call wetness. It's that layer that stays there that we call wetness. So you really.
So when it rains and it puddles, the puddle is not wet.
Unless we it stays on the surface, the puddle. On the ground, the water is in the container, it's in the puddle.
So we really cannot say the grass is wet.
If it's got water stuck on it.
Only you can feel it.
Well, the water doesn't feel it, the grass doesn't. The grass has dew on it. Indication is dew. The sensation.
The ground is so wet.
Yeah, so wet.
The ground is so wet.
See, day-to-day language, to be wet is to be covered or soaked with water or another liquid that is tactile sensation. So I guess grass doesn't say, they don't think they're wet because they don't feel it. But if we feel it, you want some water, we can feel it.
Okay, is tea wet?
You gonna drink it?
It's
mostly water. Yeah, you're gonna get wet. You're gonna get wet. In the container, it's just still a liquid. If I put my finger, well, it might be hot too. So
any liquid will make you wet. Is that true?
Yeah, I would think that would be it. It is a liquid, and it's going to adhere to your. Now here's one. Mercury.
Okay, mercury is what's in the thermometers.
Mercury is liquid metal at room temperature.
Mm-hmm.
And you used to play around with it on your hand. But
we never did.
Well, I did because I was retarded. Because it would, you could splat it and then go back together. Okay? But the problem with mercury is you can pour it off and your hand's not wet. It's a liquid. But it doesn't stay adhered to your body. But it does do one thing. Your body absorbs mercury.
And too much mercury is not good for you.
Yes. So your body, in that case, think about it, it doesn't leave any sensation of wetness, but it absorbs in your body and becomes a big problem.
So then we can't say that all liquids are wet.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So it depends on what it is.
So the way
it's the molecules, like they were saying. Put together.
Because if it hits me, it normally beads up and runs off.
Water? Mm-hmm. That doesn't on my hair.
Because even when you swim in the pool, you'll have beads of water, but if you pop out of the pool and everything,
it'll come, yeah,
it's going to run off and everything. Yeah. But if I had a shirt on,
it would soak
that is porous and stuff, and it's going to absorb it, and then it's going to get heavy and wet.
That's what makes it like a paper towel, because the molecules of water, and that's how paper towels work. They're porous. You put them down, all the little water molecules go in it. I like that question. That's really good.
Well, I thought it was a very good question she asked me.
I like this too. So wetness is not necessarily a sensation, but rather a state of being infiltrated by a liquid.
So what about steam?
That's gas. That's water turning into its gaseous state.
But it
It's a
can make you
vapor.
wet.
Yes, because how does it do it?
It's not a liquid though, is it?
It's gas, but when the steam will condense on your hand, and then it becomes back to a
Because
liquid.
you do the steam facial sometimes, or you'll steam like
Yes,
if you're congested.
because, well, what's the temperature? I
But
mean,
yet you come out and
it's,
your face is
it's
down.
boiling. Okay, it's 212 degrees Fahrenheit or 100 degrees Celsius, so it's boiling water. All right, but your temperature, your body temperature,
96 or something.
yes, so you're cooler, so the vapor condenses. So you're cool, it condenses on you, like water. If you have an ice,
Well, if we had steam sitting here right now, it's
it's
gonna
going to condense
it's
on
gonna,
everything.
Mhm.
Yes, it'll start condensing. That's kind of I like that idea. If you go to a certain place like Fargo, North Dakota, which I don't know how cold they got this year, but if you get to a point where it's extremely cold, very, very cold, and the air is also very, very dry because there's nothing, it's just all precipitated out, and you take a cup of coffee up and you throw it into the air, and what happens to it? Yes, I was telling, we had a hot tub up north, and we'd go in the hot tub, which might be 104 degrees, right? And it's might be 20 degrees outside. So you get that out, and you've got this, and it'd be snowing on your head because the water would condense, would come out, freeze, and you'd have snowflakes. Kind of cool because you got this steam coming up.
That is interesting.
It is. Now, when you boil water, so you got a pot of water, and you know how the recipe says full boil.
Mhm.
Well, you got to wait for that rumbling full boil because the first bubbles that come out are the gases that have been absorbed in the water. So there are gases in the water. That's the first thing. Because
So it's burning those off?
yes. So those first things coming out, the little tiny bubbles that are coming out are gases, and they come out.
Okay, and then the rest is heating up.
Yeah, and then when you get these molecules of water that are actually steam bubbles coming up because the water has turned from liquid to a gas, and they're coming up. So yeah, it's kind of cool.
Well, this has been a different topic, but we started with global warming down to, but I thought that was a good question.
I like that question. That's a fun one because it makes you think, and it does boil down to definitions. What do you define for different things, and understanding that some things are liquids that move around, the molecules are constantly moving around. And we didn't even talk about subliming, where you can take and it goes from a solid right to a gas and not even make it into a liquid because it's so hot.
So this has been interesting.
Carbon dioxide, dry ice, sublimes. Yes.
I knew she would have some good answers. I knew this
But
would
the
be a
brain
good
is
time.
not working too well today, but that's okay because the body's tired.
Busy week. All right, guys. Well, we're going to end it on that. This one has been a crazy one, but
Yeah,
maybe
but
it'd be
fun.
informative too. So remember,
Yeah.
your water is not wet; it's liquid.
It's liquid until you get it on something, and it gets. There you go.
And the wetness is like a byproduct of it, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway,
Look it up. Find
see you
out.
later.